Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today I'm doing another interview. My guest today is an actor and singer. They appeared as Paul Langley on Waterloo Road, and they also appeared on The Voice UK in 2016. Today, Tom MILNER will be joining me, and he's going to be telling us more about his acting and singing career, his time on Waterloo Road, and much more. So please welcome Tom.
Hello, my name is Tom MILNER. I am an actor, singer-songwriter and all-round performer from West Yorkshire, which is near Leeds, that sort of area, but I now live in London, and here I am doing Charlie's podcast.
So thank you so much for joining me, Tom. Today I'm interviewing you. I've got 10 questions based on your acting and singing career, and my first question for you is, when did you first get into the acting and singing industries?
So yeah, I was from I'm from West Yorkshire, Bradford. I was born, and I remember seeing Pop Idol, which was the talent show, which was out at that time. It was like the X Factor, but obviously it was the first go at it. And Gareth Gates was from Bradford, and he was on it. And I remember just seeing his introduction to the show, and it said Gareth Gates from Bradford. And I remember looking at the TV screen and saying to my mum, he's from Bradford. Like he's on TV. I can do that. You know, it's that sort of. That's how I started, really. And then from then I went to a stage school which was local to me. My mum just basically opened the door to the lesson, and it was just full of girls doing ballet, and I just closed the door and I said to my mum, there's absolutely no way that I am going to this. And she was like, look, just go to one class and see where it takes you, and if you don't enjoy after one class, at least you can say that you've done it. And yeah, here I am today, so thanks to my mum. I'm doing what I love to do. And then from there I went to a specialised performing arts school in Leeds, which took me an hour and a half to get to, but that was a discipline that I was willing to put into my career. And then within a week or 2 weeks of being at this high school, which specialised in performing arts, a production company came in looking for a new character within a children's TV programme called Barking. I auditioned for it. It was my first audition, and 2 weeks later I got the job, and I left school and I had a private tutor on set. So that's it in a nutshell, basically.
My second question for you is, what was the audition process like for Waterloo Road?
So the audition process for Waterloo Road was basically I'd been for different parts within the series 2 or 3 times before I actually got the role, and that's what they say in the industry. You know, even if you don't get the job, at least you've been seen by these people, and that's a perfect point. You know, I didn't get two roles before I got Paul Langley, which was a role I ended up playing for 3 or 4 years. But yeah, it was just a process of going to the actual school where it was filmed, and going into a small classroom, an old classroom, meeting the casting director initially, doing the scene on tape like we are currently doing now, and then yeah, just another process of them meeting the director, and then I ended up doing like a workshop with the director, the casting director, and Tatcha Newall, who played Bolton Smiley. So there's about 3 or 4 rounds before I actually got the role of Paul Langley.
That's really interesting. Did you know anybody who was at the audition, or was it something new to you?
No, not at all. I didn't know anyone in the audition room. I mean, I'd done the children's programme prior to Waterloo Road, which was 3-4 years, so that was a great experience for me to know how to work with cameras and things like that. But in terms of the director, it was the first time I got in front of him. He was called Mark Jobst. I think he's now going on to directing documentaries and things like that, but he was a great director that gave me the opportunity to be in Waterloo Road, but also just he taught me so much. I mean, there's an online Bible which actors have to sign up for called Spotlight, and 99% of work comes from this like online Spotlight forum, and it was something that I wasn't signed up to. So it was just little things like that Mark gave advice to me, and my dad at the time was my chaperone because I was 15. I was a few weeks away from turning 16, so I had to have a chaperone. So my dad just listened to him as well, and we just got advice. And he was you know, I owe a lot to Mark because he gave me the job, but it wasn't just that; it was the learning that he taught me whilst on the job as well.
Yeah, that sounds really fantastic. It's great that obviously he helped you out as well. I think that kind of shows that he's a great director. So my next question is about your singing, and it is, in 2016 you were a contestant on The Voice UK. What was that experience like?
Yeah, it was a strange experience. Because I started out singing, really, that's the reason why I wanted to go to stage school. My parents, my friends were always saying to me, look, go on these talent shows, go on the X Factor, go on The Voice, and it was just something that I wasn't really interested in doing, if I'm being honest. The reason I did The Voice was mainly because just to shut those people up. But the experience was great. So I did a musical in 2012, and the casting director from that was looking for boys to go on the show. So they do a lot of scouting as well. They don't just, it's not what it looks like on TV. People just don't turn up on the stage and start singing. That's not how it works, unfortunately. So I remember the morning of I signed up for it. I remember the morning of the audition. It was supposed to be in Manchester, and I just pulled out of it because I was like, I don't really want to go for it. Nerves kind of took over, and it was just that sort of, I don't really want to do this. And then that evening, I had a regret come over me, and I was like, I should have gone for that. Like, I wasn't going to lose out on anything. If anything, it was going to help my career. So then I spoke to the casting director and said, look, I missed the opportunity to go to Manchester. Any chance you can get me in to like a London, where you can go and sing in front of the producers there? And he said, look, tomorrow, can you get yourself to Wembley? I think it was a Hilton Hotel. So I went there, and you've got to do 3 rounds of singing to producers before you actually go on to the first TV audition, if that makes sense. So I think there was about 50,000 people auditioned for that year. And then when people watching the first episode on the TV, you're down to the final 100 at that point. And then if you get a chair turn, you're then down to the final 50 people. So The Voice was a great experience because, listen, first and foremost, I met people, fellow contestants on that job, which are friends for life. Jolan, who ended up being runner-up, what an amazing singer, by the way. But he's a friend for life now. Dave Barnes, he was another contestant that got as far as me. I mean, you never really do any like interaction with the actual coaches, the celebrity coaches. You do a lot more of like behind the scenes work with professional vocal coaches, which are not visually shown on TV. So again, it's not how it's made out, as you can probably imagine. But yeah, it was an experience which I don't regret, because I met some amazing people on it. And you know what? From that show, it did me some good. And I'm still, like this interview, like other interviews, people recognise me from being on that, as well as being in Waterloo Road and Holby City and things like that. So it's it's done me no harm. I enjoyed doing it. I didn't get to sing the songs which I wanted to sing. They give you a choice of songs. You don't get to go on it and go, I want to sing this. So that was a bit of a struggle. But apart from that, yeah, it was a great show. I think it was the final year. It was on the BBC before it moved to ITV. So I felt that it had a bit of a negative towards that, really. And we found out as we were about to go film our battle scenes that, oh, by the way, the BBC had sold it to ITV. So that was a bit of a shame. But yeah, all around, I don't regret it. So yeah.
Yeah, well, it sounds like an interesting experience for you, and obviously it was great that you got to go on and sing too. Do you have any advice to people who want to get into singing or acting?
I mean, my advice that was given to me was always have a backup plan. Thankfully, I did listen to that, and in times like now, there's a lot of actors that aren't getting the support from the government, let's say. So, but I was always drilled into myself that I couldn't just rely on acting as a career. So that's one advice I give to people. But also, if you are blessed to get an agent, get a good one. I had probably majority of my career where I had agents representing me that didn't know who I was really. They were putting me for things which weren't right for me. And now, thankfully, I've got an agent that I can say who knows me, who understands that some roles don't work for me, or I don't feel it. And me and Alex, who's my agent, we've just got a great relationship. In fact, I can class him as a friend as well, because he came to my wedding. So that's something that I would really, really give advice to. If you can find an agent, sign with the right one. Don't just get excited because you've got a meeting with an agent and an agent wants you. That can actually be your downfall. You can choose the right one. And that's my 2 advice I'm giving you there.
Yeah, that's some great advice. Thank you so much for sharing it. I hope lots of people can take something from it, fingers crossed. In 2010, you played Ben in Holby City. What was that like?
That was an amazing experience, because I'd come out of Waterloo Road, and then I had like a few months where I just got to chill and relax, and then Holby came along. And they'd been auditioning for the part of Ben Eden for a few weeks, or it might have even been a month, and the director at the time was like they were getting to panic mode because they were filming like in the next week or so. So I went into the room, and it was a scene where, so my character in Holby City had a lung tumour, and one of the scenes that I had to read for was he was hyperventilating, he was struggling to breathe, and I remember doing it in the audition and nearly fainting myself, because you can imagine, like, when you're doing a lot of like that for a while, your head goes really light, and yeah, I felt like I was going to faint. And I remember doing that audition, and me and the director got on really, really well. I think it was a relief for him, as I say, because they've been trying to find this character for a month or so, and it was a relief for me because I was jumping into another fantastic job on the BBC, on Prime BBC. So, and it wasn't just one episode, that was over like 4 or 5 episodes. But the main thing I remember from that job is working with Robert Powell, who played one of the doctors, and he I mean, he's had a fantastic career. Anyone who's watching this who's an actor and want to know more about acting, he's a perfect person to delve into his career and just watch and learn from him. And I got to work with him very closely, and Jackie Leonard as well, she played my mum. So we just, it was just like 5-6 weeks of filming in Boreham Wood, which is near Watford. I called it Boring Wood because it was just one street which had hotels and a McDonald's, and that was it, and the filming studios. But that job was amazing. Again, I've been blessed to work in jobs which I can learn from, rather than jobs that are just, quick releases. You got great money on these jobs, but the learning thing was massive for me. And that's what I was always taught as a young lad from my dad, from people that I work with. The minute you stop learning, the minute you might as well pack it in. I'm still learning now. I'm 29, nearly 30, and I think that's something that I just take on each job. If I want to learn, I don't just want to turn up and get another job on my CV. I don't just want to turn up and earn more great money. I want to learn, and I want it to be a challenge for me as well. And that job was exactly that.
Yeah, it does sound like that job was fantastic. It's obviously great you got the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, I mean, before we move on, there's a great story, because bless her, Barbara Windsor, she just passed recently, but Robert Powell was good friends with Barbara. And one lunchtime, he said to me, "Do you want to come for lunch with me?" It was like a little cafe on the set. I was like, "Yeah, of course, go for lunch with Robert Powell, yes." And he sat down. He's like, "Oh, by the way, I forgot to. I completely forgot. My friend Barbara's going to come and sit with us. Do you mind?" I was like, "No." At that point, Barbara could be anyone. And then here comes Barbara Windsor. She sits down and has lunch with me, and that was another thing on that job. And she was a lovely, beautiful woman. So rest in peace. God bless her soul. But that's a great story that I take with me.
Yeah, that's a lovely little story you got there. Thank you so much for sharing it. So my next question is switching back to Waterloo Road, and it is, on Waterloo Road, obviously you played Paul Langley. What was that experience like? Because obviously you were on the show for a really long time.
Yeah, Paul Langley was my first role, which he was a bit of a naughty lad. My first professional acting job was back, and as I say, my character in that, Ollie, was a clean cut, geeky sort of character, whereas Paul Langley was the flip reverse of that. So coming into playing him was pretty cool, because I've been doing this series before, this children's program, for 3 years, where I was being really petite, clean cut kid, and then I was all of a sudden allowed to come and create loads of carnage. I think in the first episode I was nicking a knife from the school canteen and taking it home to threaten my uncle with, or actually gonna go for him with this knife. So it was nice to go in and jump and play this completely contrasting character from the one that I've been playing previously. But yeah, just to work with Tatch, who played Bolton Smiley as well. Me and him, we did a Waterloo Road reunion recently, a couple of weeks ago, and we chatted about this together. But me and him are opposite people, and if you put on paper Tatch and Tom Milner are going to come together and they're going to get on and work together great, you'd have gone, no way. But we were so weird together, and worked together, on and off the screen. Actually, it became a point where Paul Langley was Tom Milner and Bolton Smiley was Tatcher, and we would put stuff into the script. We'd prat around on set, but that worked. That worked for our characters, that worked for the show, and that worked for us personally. And that's something which I loved about our job, was just working with him. And I've got to say, I said this on the reunion of the week, he is to the day the most talented person that I've worked with. Honestly, he's an amazing guy, great guy, and he's like my brother. And we don't speak for like a year or so, but when we speak, it's one of those friendships that just clicks and we go again. He rang me the other day and we haven't spoke again for a year since my wedding actually, and the conversation just took off as if we've been speaking every single day. So that chemistry that me and him had on set was just amazing.
Yeah, it does sound fantastic, and it's great, obviously, that you can get on, because I think it's lovely where you're friends with somebody, like, in the show, but you're also friends with them outside of the show. I think it's great, because then you can...
It just makes it easier, doesn't it, as well? It makes the job so much easier.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Yeah, 100%. So, actually, was it 2016 when you did, like, Waterloo Road Reunited? I'm not sure if it was then, but do you want to kind of talk a bit about what that was?
Yeah, I think it was probably 2014, might have been a couple of years before, but that was, so basically we left the show, and we left the show, like, we were supposed to have another year. So in our school years, I think we were in year 10, so we had another year written that we could have done, but the producers wanted a complete change of the show. So they got rid of our year, and they brought in the likes of George, Samson, and Lucian, Laviscount, and people like that just came in. So we were a bit like, oh, I remember getting the call, we had like a few weeks left to film in our last series, and the producers rang and said, look, this is your last series. So that was a bit of a shock, but then a year or so afterwards, they got in contact and said, look, we want to trial a red button program straight after Waterloo Road, which is Waterloo Road Reunited, which is going to follow your cast year, and just 20-minute episodes. Are you up for it? And at that point, I think I had a bit of quietness in my diary, and I was like, well, get to go to film in Scotland with my mates again, who I've not seen for a while. Me, Tatch, and Dean, who played Philip Ryan. We all had our own flat in the centre of Glasgow. And again, we had like a month of filming up there. It was great. I think they'd done it as a bit of a test of water thing at Waterloo Road too, because eventually then Waterloo Road moved to Scotland. So I don't know whether they used us as a bit of a test to see how they would navigate moving up to Scotland, if that makes sense. So, but listen, it worked. I think it was at the time the most... Waterloo Road had just won the NTAs for the best drama, and the Red Button programme that we did was the most watched at that point on the Red Button ever. So it did well.
Yeah, it did do well, and it's great that obviously Waterloo Road took off and everybody got to be part of that.
Yeah.
So my next question is, do you look up to anybody in the acting or singing industries?
Yeah, I mean, again, people that I've worked with, Neil Morrissey, he played Eddie Lawson on Waterloo Road. He's someone that I really looked up to before I did the job. In fact, he was my dad's hero, because my dad loved the programme Men Behaving Badly, which was a comedy years ago that he was in. So working with him, he was someone that I massively looked up to. But if there's someone that I haven't worked with, and someone that look, Martin Freeman, Benedict Cumberbatch, them sort of actors, I really, really, when you watch them do their things, they're just special. They know how to really get into a character. In terms of singing people that I look up to, I don't really think there's many people really. I love you, John Mayers, the singer-songwriters, them sort of Stereophonics, Kelly Jones. How am I nearly forgetting him? He's my hero. He's someone that I really look up to. I go watch them whenever we can go to gigs again. So Stereophonics, Kelly Jones, he's one of my he is my hero.
Yeah, they sound like some great people to look up to. So my next question for you is, in 2011, you played Karl Marr in the TV series Doctors. What was that like?
That was another great role to play, because he was quite similar to Paul Langley, but I think he was an arsonist, so I got to do some outside filming shots of me trying to burn this building down. So for any 17-year-old being able to do that and get away with it and act through it was a great role to play. A lot of actors they do Doctors, and you can learn a lot on any job, as I say. And Doctors was another one which, I learned so much from the people on the set. It's a machinist Doctors, so in terms of everything's really quick. As an actor, sometimes you'll do a take which you're like, I could do better, and you'll speak to the director and go, I could do better with that, and the director then will discuss with you, yes, I agree, or no, actually I really liked it. Whereas Doctors, it was bam, 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 very quick. Let's crack on to the next scene. So I knew that going into it. I'd had people that had worked on it that had told me that, so that I was going into it with that in my head. But again, it was great. It was great, as I say, it was quick, but it was a great job. And to be able to play someone blowing buildings or tempted to blow up buildings is always a great fun.
Yeah, well, it does sound like great fun, and it's great that you got that experience too. What has been the best moment in your career?
Wow, that is a difficult question. The best moment of career, I'd always say, is your last job, because you're still in the game. I know that sounds like a bit boring, an answer, but for me, my last job was a musical theatre production of American Idiot, Green Day, and the fact that I worked only a year and a bit ago, that's a great memory for me. I mean, if I had to go into an actual memory, I mean, I got to work with one of my heroes growing up. They were a band called The Enemy, an indie band from Coventry, and they put on a musical in Coventry, and my agent rang me, and he said, there's a musical going on in Coventry called We'll Live and Die in These Towns. And I stopped him and I said, is this about a band called The Enemy? And he was like, let me just look through my notes. And he was like, yes, it is. I was like, We'll Live and Die in These Towns was their first album title of the band. And then we're putting this, Jeff Thompson, the writer, was putting a script behind their first album. So when I got the audition, I was like, great, you know, I get to sing in front of one of my heroes, Tom Clark. He was a lead singer of the band. He was the musical director of the show. So just to go into an audition and sing in front of him, and I sang one of their songs, and that is the thing that you don't do in the musical theatre industry. You're not supposed to do a song from, or it's not seen to be, you're not supposed to do a song from the musical that you're going for. I.e., if I was going for Wicked, don't sing Defying Gravity. I mean, I'm never going to do that, but you find a song which is similar to that show, but you don't go in and sing. But I was like, listen, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to sing in front of one of my heroes, and I'm going to sing one of their songs. And I got the job, and I did 3-4 weeks on this job, and Tom now, who was my hero growing up, he's now one of my friends. So that's a great memory for me, you know, just to be able to, it was like a double whammy for me. You know, I got to do a great job, and I got to get another friend of mine who was a hero of mine growing up. And to this day, he's amazing because I do a lot of songwriting, as you can probably see behind my my setup here. I do a lot of songwriting, and he's a great number to have in my phone, just to pick up the phone and go, hi Tom, what do you think of this? And I send him a lot of voice notes as well. So that is probably one of my greatest memories and probably achievements, which people would be surprised about. People probably would have thought Waterloo Road, which I owe a lot to Waterloo Road, because to this day I'm still getting into rooms, audition rooms. I'm still getting, you know, the odd jobs because of that programme. So I still owe a lot to that job as well. So it's a really hard one, it's a really hard question, but I would have to say the Coventry musical just trumps everything.
Yeah, that sounds great as well, and it's great that you got to like work with a hero and that you're friends with them. I think it's great that some people get to have that. So I have one more question for you, and this one is definitely my favourite question to ask, and it is, do you have any behind the scenes stories from Waterloo Road?
I mean, there's so many. Philip Martin Brown, who played Grantley Budging, he was the biggest joker on set, and you know, nothing like his character. So there's so many I could say about him, but I think the one thing that came to light actually on our reunion call was there was about 3 or 4 months where my character and our year, they kind of stopped writing for us. And it got to the point where, by the way, any actors that are watching this, do not listen to this advice, because it's a lesson to learn from myself. So it got to the point where we'd all have jokes and go, oh, we're in again today, how many lines have you got? And we'd have none. We'd be like overpaid, you know, background artist, extras, if you like. So it got to the point where, you know, young and naive and stupid, I would be going to bed and not even looking what we're doing the next day in terms of the script schedule, shooting schedule, because I've just automatically thought to myself, I'm going to be in the back of shot with no lines. Anyway, this one morning I'm in makeup, getting my makeup done, and Dean, who played Philip Ryan, comes into the makeup room and goes, you got a big day today filming, mate? Nice to do some work for you. And I was like, yeah, whatever. You know, we always like kept winding each other up. And he was like, no, look. And he gave me, so basically at the start of the day, you get like some sides given on the shooting schedule. And I looked and it said my character's name on all of these scenes. And I looked and my character had so many lines to say. So I had to quickly run to my dressing room and learn all these lines so quickly, to the point where we ended up filming, and the director chose to film the scene from starts from the start of the day to the end of the day as one full scene. So you can imagine like how, you know, rubbish I was, and how stressful that was. And then when it came to the episode airing, I think they cut half of the scene. So it must have been absolutely poor. So that's one memory that I can. And a lesson that I took away: do not rest on your laurels and just think you're automatically doing the same thing you did the previous day, because that was a moment. But yeah, one that I learned the hard way. So that's kind of a big memory that I have. But yeah, just working with the people. You know, the adults were like the kids sometimes. You know, Eva Pope was like so cool to work with, who played Rachel Mason. You know, you look at Rachel Mason, the character, she was a head teacher, stern, really good at her job, but when the camera went cut, she was prattling around with all us as kids. You know, it was just a great place to go to work, and just everyone just had so much fun. And as I say, the memories just carry on.
Yeah, it does sound like Waterloo Road was fantastic. Obviously, it was such a big thing. I do have to ask, I've spoken to a few of the cast already, and two of them have like ghost stories. So, did you experience any supernatural activity?
No, I didn't. I mean, the school in Rochdale was. Yeah, so we had a security man, David Wallace, I think he was called. He wanted to shout out in one of the interviews anyway, so there you go, David, you got a shout out. He would say a few things about, you know, things or sightings or things that he'd seen. I haven't actually heard any ghost stories, so once this has stopped, I'd like to hear some what these people said to you. But it was an old school. It was an old school, so I wouldn't be surprised if there was some things lurking in corridors.
Yeah, definitely. Because I heard like there's some parts of the school which you didn't use, so maybe they were just hiding back there somewhere.
Maybe.
Maybe. But anyway, we have came to the end of the interview now, and it's been lovely filming with you today and finding out more about yourself.
Bless you, mate, and thank you, and good luck with your channel. You know, it's great. Thanks for the questions. They're great questions. It's nice to have them sent to you beforehand as well, so I know what I'm doing. It's really professional. So well done. Keep going.
Oh, thank you so much, and I'm again super grateful for you coming on. I hope everybody enjoyed this interview, and I'll see you next week for another one. Bye, guys.